Dad, you're gonna get yourself in this picture too, right? You're gonna give a little update.
We don't want to spoil the picture, Michael.
You got it now?
I sit down. I think so. Yep. Yeah. We're recording right now.
I see a red light.
I was 15 years old when my grandpa died. It was my first real experience with death. Growing up, I was with my grandpa and grandma a lot. They lived only 20 minutes away, and I'd go with my mom and brothers to visit all the time. My grandpa started first grade when he was only 3 years old, and by the time he was 23, he had finished dental school at Loyola University and his undergrad at DePaul, along with owning his own dentistry, which he later passed along to my uncle when he retired. During World War II, my grandpa was even a dentist for soldiers. My grandparents met and lived in Chicago, but got married in Tennessee in 1943.
Going in the Army,
Yeah.
I was reporting for duty down in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And when you're an officer, you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So on the way down to Dallas, Texas, I stopped off at Fort Oglethorpe, and I married your mother then.
We got married in, what was that town?
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
So you just didn't have anything to do that weekend? You decided to get married, or what? That sounds like a shotgun wedding to me.
Yeah.
This was planned before.
It was
Yeah,
planned.
we had talked about it, but,
You talked about it? That sounded very promising.
I adored my grandparents and going to their house as a child. My grandpa had a love for fish, and one of my favorite parts of coming to their house was going to feed the fish. It was always smelly, but it was a scent I learned to love. In 1963, my grandparents bought a huge lake house in Lake Delvin.
They did find a real estate guy. And I told the real estate guy, I have 15,000 I could afford it. And he says you can't buy a house for 15,000 on the lake. Except, he says, there is one house there, but it's in such bad condition.
I hate to show it to you, and that's the one we bought.
You'd have to tear it down.
We didn't tear it down, though.
From when I was born until I was 6 years old, I spent every summer there. The whole family would meet in Grandpa's lake house for swimming, campfires, carnivals, and plenty of other fun things. When my grandparents sold the lake house in 1999, everybody was saddened but knew it was too expensive to continue owning. As I grew older, I didn't see my grandparents as often as I used to. They would more often drive over to our place for a Sunday brunch, something that I can recall quite vividly. What I recall more vividly than anything, though, is the week of April 18th, 2008. The staircase that led to my grandpa's fish-filled basement was very long, and one afternoon, he lost his footing and fell down the stairs. He broke his hip and had to get surgery. On the night of April 18th, while my mom was at the hospital with relatives and my grandpa, I remember developing a headache around 10 p.m. and going to bed knowing that something bad was happening. When I was woken up the next morning by my mother, I knew what she was there to tell me. He had passed the night before from heart failure after the surgery, around 10 p.m. His heart couldn't function after the surgery without the help of machines. I was completely overwhelmed with grief, and for months I'd cry myself to sleep uncontrollably. My grandpa was 88 years old, and I never got to see him in the hospital before he passed. A few months after his passing, I had an extraordinary, vivid, lifelike dream. In it, I was sitting in a Roman Colosseum-like building across from my grandpa at a huge stone table. There were people around us, but my only focus was him. He spoke to me about how he loves me and that he's grateful for us taking care of Grandma since his passing. We had a long, beautiful talk before the building started to rumble and fall apart. Masses of people rushed past us, but he wouldn't budge. I grabbed my grandpa and told him that we had to leave. He told me to go, but that he had to stay. I've always considered that dream to have been more than just a dream. My grandpa was one of the very best people that I've had in my life, and one of the very few that I have no bad memories of. His love for life, children, education, and even fish will stick with me forever. His trip down the stairs to feed his silly fish ended up being his last, but I will remember him as he was, full of life till the very end, my angel fish.